We spend, what, a third of our lives asleep? It's huge.
It really is.
Such a fundamental part of being human.
Yeah.
But honestly, so much of it still feels like a mystery. Like, what are dreams really about? And how can we actually get consistently good rest?
Yeah.
And what happens when sleep? Well, when it goes wrong.
Right. Those are the big questions.
So today on the Deep Dive, we're tackling exactly that. We're looking at the current science, reputable research, to really understand sleep's vital role.
Exactly. And we've got some great insights, really diving into the latest findings. We'll cover why we dream, some practical evidence-based ways to sleep better,
Okay.
and also the pretty significant impacts when sleep gets disrupted.
All right, let's jump right in. Why do we dream? It's fascinated people forever, hasn't it?
Absolutely. For centuries.
We know dreaming happens most vividly in REM sleep,
Right.
at rapid eye movement phase. High brain activity, those really narrative dreams.
That's the classic association, yeah. But why it happens? Well, that's where things get interesting. It's still a really active area of research.
So no single answer yet.
Not one everyone agrees on, no. But there are several really compelling theories. One big one is memory consolidation.
Okay, memory. How does that work?
Well, the idea is that during sleep, especially deep sleep and REM, our brain isn't just offline. It's actively replaying things from the day, reorganizing information.
Huh?
Research shows this process helps strengthen important memories, kind of filing them away properly and linking them to what we already know. Think of it like your brain hitting save and organizing the files.
So sleep is like the brain's admin time, archiving the day.
In a way, yes. And REM sleep, where most vivid dreaming happens, seems to add another layer.
Okay.
During REM, the thinking goes. The brain gets creative. It links these memories together in new, sometimes unexpected ways. It's not just storing, it's connecting.
So making new connections.
Exactly. Finding patterns, maybe figuring out underlying rules from what happened. Some research suggests non-REM sleep strengthens the individual bits of memory,
Got it.
while REM, with dreaming, kind of puts the pieces together to see the bigger picture. You know when you sleep on a problem.
Yeah. And sometimes wake up with an answer.
That could be it, that memory reorganization happening while you sleep.
That really clicks. Okay, another theory I found interesting is about emotional processing. Like, dreams are a kind of therapy.
Yes, that's a fascinating angle, often linked with Dr. Matthew Walker's work. The idea is that REM sleep dreaming helps us cope with emotional experiences.
How so? What's happening in the brain then?
Well, during REM, something really specific happens with brain chemistry. Levels of certain stress neurotransmitters like noradrenaline are quite low.
Okay. Less stress chemical.
Right. But at the same time, brain areas involved in emotion like the amygdala and hippocampus are very active.
So emotional centers are active, but the stress response is dampened.
Precisely. It creates this unique state where we can revisit emotional memories without the usual accompanying stress, like processing difficult stuff in a safer mental space.
Wow. Okay. Like running an emotional simulation on safe mode? Is there research backing this up?
There is. One study, for instance, showed people who dreamed after seeing upsetting images had a weaker emotional reaction to those images later compared to those who stayed awake.
Interesting.
And brain scans back this up. They showed a less reactive amygdala, that's a key emotion center, and more activity in the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, after sleep. It suggests sleep helped mellow out the emotional punch.
So dreams might actually be helping us regulate our feelings, learn from experiences.
That's the theory. And it fits with other findings too, like how reducing stress chemicals during dreaming seems to decrease nightmares in people with PTSD. It points to this emotion-soothing function.
That's powerful. So dreams aren't just random noise. Okay, shifting slightly. What about creativity, problem solving, that whole sleep on it advice again?
Yes, and there's science behind that too. It seems REM sleep and the dreaming that happens then lets the brain shuffle information in new ways.
Shuffling information.
Yeah, combining ideas, memories, concepts in ways we wouldn't consciously do when we're awake and, thinking logically. This might be where those aha moments come from.
Like the brain running little experiments.
Yeah.
Trying out weird combinations.
Kind of. There was one study with puzzles, like word anagrams. Participants woken from REM sleep solved significantly more, like 15 to 35% more.
Oh.
And they often said the answer just popped into their head. Then there was that virtual maze experiment. People who dreamed about the maze got way better at navigating it, like 10 times better.
10 times. That's huge.
It is. And think about famous stories like August Kekulé figuring out the benzene ring structure after dreaming of a snake biting its tail. It suggests dreams can really foster that out-of-the-box thinking.
A dream leading to a major scientific discovery. That really shows the potential, doesn't it?
Definitely. But again, these aren't the only ideas out there. There's also the threat simulation theory.
Threat simulation, what's that?
It's more of an evolutionary perspective. The idea is that dreams might be a way for us to rehearse dealing with threats or dangerous situations.
Like practicing fight or flight in our sleep.
Sort of. By dreaming about potential dangers, maybe we sharpen our responses, making us better prepared if something similar happens in real life. And observationally, people do often dream about stressful or fearful things.
Right, those anxiety dreams. Maybe they have a purpose.
That's the hypothesis. It could help desensitize us or just prepare us.
Okay. Any other major theories?
Well, there's the activation synthesis theory. This one's a bit different.
How so?
It suggests dreams are more of a byproduct. Basically, random electrical signals fire up from the brainstem during REM sleep.
Okay.
And our higher brain, the cortex, tries to make sense of this random activity. It weaves together a story, the dream, to interpret the signals.
So in that view, dreams aren't for anything specific. They're just the brain interpreting its own noise.
That's the essence of it, yes. Less function, more interpretation of internal chaos.
Interesting.
And honestly, the real answer might be a mix of all these things. Maybe dreaming involves some random activity, but the brain has also learned to harness parts of that process for useful things like memory, emotion, and creativity.
So a combination of factors.
Very likely. Research is ongoing, with sleep labs, brain imaging. We're still learning.
It seems clear, though, that dreaming is probably doing something important for our minds, even if we don't have all the answers yet. Okay, let's switch gears. Practical stuff. We know sleep is important. Dreams might be too. But how do we actually get better rest?
Right, because quality matters just as much as quantity. And the good news is there are concrete, evidence-based things we can all do. Sleep hygiene practices.
Sleep hygiene. Okay, let's break that down. Routine seems like a big starting point, right? Consistency.
Absolutely fundamental. Going to bed and waking up around the same time every single day, yes, even weekends, is probably the single best thing you can do.
Why is that so powerful?
It reinforces your body's natural internal clock, the circadian rhythm. It basically trains your body to expect sleep at a certain time and wakefulness at another. Pick times you can actually stick with.
Setting that biological alarm. Makes sense.
And daylight plays a role too. Getting some morning sunlight, ideally at least 30 minutes, really helps anchor that rhythm. Tells your brain, okay, it's daytime.
Right. And then dimming lights in the evening does the opposite.
Exactly. It cues your body that nighttime and sleep is approaching. Light exposure is a really powerful signal.
Okay, so regulate light. What about winding down before bed? A pre-sleep routine.
Crucial. Having a relaxing routine for, say, 30 to 60 minutes before bed helps shift your mind and body into sleep mode.
What kind of activities work best?
Things like reading a physical book, not a screen, taking a warm shower, gentle stretching, maybe some relaxation exercises like deep breathing or visualization, calming things. And if you do it consistently, it can even create a kind of Pavlovian response. You start your routine, and your body automatically starts feeling drowsy because it knows sleep is coming.
The brain learns the association.
Ah.
And what about the bed itself? I've heard you should only use it for sleep.
Mostly, yes. Sleep and intimacy. The advice is strongly against working in bed, watching stimulating TV, scrolling on your phone.
Why is that?
You want your brain to associate the bed with sleep and relaxation, not with alertness or stress or entertainment. It strengthens that connection.
And if you can't sleep, just lie there.
No, actually, if you're tossing and turning for, say, 20 minutes or so, the recommendation is to get out of bed.
Really?
Yeah. Go do something quiet and relaxing in dim light somewhere else until you feel genuinely sleepy, then go back to bed. It helps prevent you from associating the bed with frustration.
Breaking that negative cycle.
Got it.
Okay, let's talk bedroom environment. Noise, light, temperature. How important are they?
Hugely important. Let's start with noise. Ideally, your bedroom should be quiet. Less noise means fewer awakenings, better sleep continuity.
And if quiet isn't possible, city living, noisy neighbors.
Then things like earplugs can help. Or a white noise machine, or even just a fan, can create a consistent masking sound that drowns out sudden disruptive noises.
Okay, manage the soundscape. And light, we touched on dimming lights, but what about during sleep?
Pitch black is best. Darkness triggers melatonin production, the sleep hormone. So blackout curtains are great, or a comfortable eye mask.
Even small lights matter, like phone chargers.
Yes, even tiny amounts of light, especially blue light from electronics, can suppress melatonin. Cover those little LEDs. If you need a nightlight, use a very dim one, preferably red-toned.
Dark it is. Now, temperature. This one seems debated. What's the ideal?
The general consensus is actually on the cool side, around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 18 Celsius.
Cooler. Why?
Our core body temperature naturally needs to drop slightly to initiate sleep. A cooler room helps facilitate that. Being too warm often leads to restlessness.
Makes sense. So aim for the low to mid 60s Fahrenheit.
That's good range. And use breathable bedding so you don't overheat. People generally report sleeping better in cooler rooms. You can adjust the thermostat, use fans, layer blankets. Find what works for you.
Cool. Dark. Quiet. Got it. And the bed itself? Mattress. Pillows.
Absolutely critical. A comfortable, supportive mattress and the right pillow for your sleeping style are non-negotiable for good sleep posture and preventing aches.
Worth investing in if yours is old or uncomfortable.
Definitely. A mattress topper can sometimes help too. And finding the right pillow height and firmness for whether you sleep on your back, side, or stomach makes a big difference.
Okay. Any other environmental tips?
Good ventilation is helpful. Some people find calming scents like lavender relaxing, maybe through aromatherapy, though the evidence there is a bit more mixed. But basically, make your bedroom a comfortable, inviting haven for rest.
Right. Create that sanctuary. Okay, let's talk daily habits. Diet, exercise, lifestyle.
Yeah,
How do they impact sleep?
massively. Let's start with caffeine. Big one.
Yeah. When should we cut it off?
Since caffeine is a stimulant and can stay in your system for like 6 to 8 hours, the general advice is no caffeine after about 2 p.m. if you plan to sleep around 10 p.m.
That early?
Yeah, or even earlier for some people who are more sensitive. And remember, caffeine hides in things like tea, chocolate, some sodas, even certain medications. Be mindful.
Good point. And needing caffeine all day might mean you're not sleeping well anyway, right?
Exactly. It can mask underlying sleep debt. Now, alcohol, another tricky one.
People think it helps them sleep.
It might make you drowsy initially, yes, but it actually messes up your sleep architecture later in the night.
Oh, so?
It leads to more fragmented sleep, more awakenings, and it significantly reduces REM sleep, which is vital. It can also worsen snoring and sleep apnea.
So that nightcap isn't really helping long term.
Not for sleep quality, no. Best to limit alcohol, especially close to bedtime. Have it earlier with dinner, maybe in moderation.
Okay. What about nicotine?
Another stimulant. Like caffeine, it interferes with falling asleep and makes sleep lighter, more easily disturbed.
So avoid smoking or vaping close to bed.
Definitely. Quitting altogether is obviously best for many reasons, including better sleep.
Right. How about food? Big meals before bed.
Generally not a great idea. Eating a heavy meal can cause indigestion and discomfort that disrupts sleep. Try to finish dinner a few hours before bedtime.
But going to bed starving isn't good either.
Right. That can also wake you up. A light, easily digestible snack is okay if you're genuinely hungry. Some people find things like tryptophan-rich foods or complex carbs help, but it varies a lot individually.
Okay. Timing and size matter for evening food. What about exercise? We know it's good for us.
And it's generally great for sleep. Regular exercise improves sleep quality, helps you fall asleep faster, increases deep sleep.
But not right before bed.
Generally, no. Intense exercise is stimulating. It raises your core body temperature and heart rate when you want them to be winding down.
So when's the best time?
Finish vigorous workouts at least a few hours before bed. Gentle exercise, like stretching or a relaxed walk, might be okay closer to bedtime for some people. But aim for moderate activity most days. Even just being active during the day helps regulate sleep.
Got it. Energize earlier, calm down later. Okay, finally, the elephant in the room. Technology, screens before bed.
Huge issue. Something like 70% of adults use devices in the hour before sleep, and it's a double whammy.
Double whammy. How?
First, there's the light, specifically the blue-enriched light from screens. It powerfully suppresses melatonin production.
The sleep hormone.
Exactly. It tells your brain, hey, it's still daytime, even when it's not. This delays sleep onset and can shift your whole body clock later, like mini jet lag every night.
Okay, so the light itself is bad. What's the second part?
Mental stimulation. Scrolling through social media, reading news, playing games, watching intense shows. It keeps your brain engaged, alert, maybe even stressed or anxious. Not exactly conducive to winding down.
Right, the opposite of relaxing.
Plus, notifications popping up, the urge to just check one more thing, it's constantly pulling you out of that pre-sleep state.
So what's the advice? Just banish all tech from the bedroom.
Ideally, yes, make the bedroom a screen-free zone. At the very least, stop using all devices, phones, tablets, laptops, TVs, for at least an hour before you intend to sleep.
An hour? That sounds tough for some people.
It can be, but the research is clear. Bedtime tech use is strongly linked to less sleep and more insomnia symptoms. Swap that screen time for reading a real book, listening to calm music, journaling, something relaxing.
What about night mode or blue light filters? Do they help?
They might reduce the blue light impact somewhat, but they don't eliminate the mental stimulation problem. Avoidance is really best.
Okay. So turn off notifications, maybe keep the phone charging across the room.
Great strategies. The less accessible it is, the less tempting. Taming those tech habits can make a massive difference. Think about it. If you're not part of that 70% using screens before bed, you're already giving yourself an advantage for better sleep.
Unplugging to let the brain naturally shift gears? That makes a lot of sense.
It really does. And like all these things, consistency is what makes them work long term. It takes effort to build these habits, but the payoff in better sleep and feeling better overall is huge.
Definitely sounds worth it. Okay, so we've looked at dreams, we've looked at how to improve sleep. Now let's talk about when things go wrong. Sleep disorders, chronic lack of sleep. What are the real impacts?
Yeah, unfortunately, many people really struggle. Insomnia is the most common culprit, that persistent difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, or both.
What usually causes insomnia?
It can be triggered by lots of things. Stress, anxiety are big ones, irregular schedules, certain medications, other health problems. It can be short-term, or it can become chronic, lasting months or years.
And the effects, just feeling tired.
Oh, it's much more than that. Feeling unrefreshed, constant fatigue, brain fog, trouble concentrating, irritability, mood swings. It really impacts daily life and productivity. And it can become a vicious cycle. You worry about not sleeping, which makes you anxious, which makes it harder to sleep.
Oof, yeah. How is it treated?
Good sleep hygiene is the foundation. But often, professional help is needed. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI, is highly effective. Sometimes medication is used, usually short-term.
Okay. What about sleep apnea? That sounds serious.
It is very serious. It's a breathing disorder where you repeatedly stop and start breathing during sleep, often because the airway gets blocked.
How often does this happen?
It can be hundreds of times a night, with pauses lasting 10 seconds or more. Loud snoring, gasping or choking sounds, and severe daytime sleepiness are key signs.
And the risks. It's not just snoring, right?
Not at all. It puts immense strain on your body. Untreated sleep apnea significantly increases the risk of high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, even accidents because you're so drowsy.
Wow. How's that treated?
Lifestyle changes like weight loss can help. The main treatment is usually CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure, a machine that keeps the airway open. There are also oral appliances and sometimes surgery. Treating it makes a huge difference to health.
Definitely sounds like something to get checked out if you suspect it. Then there's restless legs syndrome, RLS.
Right. That's a neurological thing. An uncontrollable urge to move your legs, usually accompanied by unpleasant sensations, crawling, tingling, aching.
And it happens mostly at night.
Yeah, it typically gets worse when you're resting, sitting, or lying down, especially in the evening. Moving provides temporary relief, but it makes falling asleep and staying asleep really difficult.
That sounds incredibly frustrating.
It is. It leads to fragmented sleep and exhaustion. Some people also have periodic limb movements, leg twitches during sleep. Mild cases might get by with stretching or leg soaks, but often medication is needed. It's surprisingly common, maybe 5–10% of adults.
Okay. And narcolepsy. What exactly is that?
Narcolepsy is different. It's characterized by excessive daytime sleepiness that's overwhelming.
Okay.
People can have sleep attacks, suddenly falling asleep at inappropriate times.
What causes that?
Yeah. It's a problem with the brain's ability to regulate sleep-wake cycles. In the main type 1, there's a loss of specific brain cells that produce a chemical called hypocretin or orexin, which helps keep us awake.
What are the main symptoms besides sleepiness?
Besides the sleep attacks, there can be cataplexy, sudden muscle weakness triggered by strong emotions, also sleep paralysis, and vivid hallucinations when falling asleep or waking up.
That sounds incredibly challenging to live with.
It really is. It impacts school, work, driving safety, everything. There's no cure, but medications and strategies like scheduled naps can help manage symptoms significantly. It's crucial to understand it's a brain disorder, not laziness.
Right, so these are specific disorders. But what about just chronic lack of sleep, not getting enough hours night after night, even without a disorder.
That's also a major public health issue. The consequences are widespread. Even one bad night affects your mood, your thinking, your concentration.
And long term.
Long-term, habitually getting less than, say, 7 hours is linked to a whole host of problems. Slower reaction time, seriously. Drowsy driving can be as bad as drunk driving.
Really? How impaired are we?
Being awake for 18-20 hours can impair you like having a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. 24 hours awake, that's like 0.10% legally drunk. It massively increases accident risk. Think about errors at work, car crashes.
Wow. That puts it in perspective.
And it goes beyond accidents. Chronic sleep deprivation is linked to higher rates of heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, type 2 diabetes, obesity.
How strong is that link?
Pretty strong. Studies show people sleeping under 6 hours consistently gain more weight and have about a 30% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It messes with hormones that control hunger and metabolism and increases stress hormones like cortisol.
Okay, physical health takes a hit. What about mental health?
Big connection there too. Lack of sleep is tied to higher rates of depression and anxiety. It can be both a cause and a symptom, creating that negative loop again. It likely disrupts neurotransmitters and stress responses.
And our immune system. Does sleep affect that?
Definitely. When you're sleep deprived, you're more susceptible to infections like the common cold. Your body produces fewer infection-fighting cells and antibodies. Even vaccines might be less effective if you're severely sleep deprived.
So getting enough sleep actually helps us stay healthy.
Absolutely. It impacts cognitive function, physical health, mental well-being, immunity, even potentially longevity, though that's complex. And the scary thing is, estimates suggest over a third of adults in the U.S. regularly don't get enough sleep.
Over a third.
And maybe 50 to 70 million Americans have a chronic sleep disorder. The overall burden is huge. Persistent fatigue, slower thinking, memory issues, irritability, weakened immunity, weight gain, higher risk of heart problems, diabetes, accidents. It's a long list.
It's a pretty bleak picture. Is there any good news?
The good news is, for many people, a lot of these effects are reversible. If you start prioritizing sleep, consistently getting enough quality rest, you can see significant improvements in mood, thinking, and overall health.
So it really reinforces sleep as that third pillar of health, alongside diet and exercise.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Sufficient quality sleep sharpens your mind, protects your heart, bolsters your immunity, improves your mood. It just makes your quality of life better.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it feels like the big message is sleep is absolutely essential, not optional.
Not a luxury, definitely a necessity.
We've covered the why behind dreams, memory, emotions, creativity. We've talked practical ways to actually improve our rest routine, environment, habits, and we've seen the serious downsides when sleep goes wrong.
The key takeaway is simple. Sleep is as vital as eating or drinking water. Making it a priority is investing directly in your health and happiness.
So for everyone listening, maybe take a moment to think about your own sleep. Are you really getting the rest you need? Perhaps tonight, just try one small thing. Turn off the screens an hour early, make your room darker, cooler. Embrace that restorative power.
Sweet dreams.